Okay, this is what I'm going to do is on the seven trumpets. My hair's still wet. Just washed my hair. Revelations 8:7. The first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and the third part of trees were burned up, and all grass was burned up. Okay, at this point in time, the 144,000 have already received the seal of God in their foreheads, and the war now can begin, which was introduced when the sixth seal was opened. Remember that John is looking into the future and has to explain what he is seeing relative to his knowledge of his time. What he is seeing has not even been invented yet. So his frame of reference is very limited. Okay, he is seeing something coming from the sky that seems to be on fire. The only thing that he has seen fall from the sky in his lifetime was hail or snow. But he has never seen hail with fire. What falls from the sky today that can be seen and has fire attached to it? What John was probably seeing was falling to the ground were missiles. The blood that he saw was the blood of the people whose bodies were blown apart when the missiles reached the earth. These missiles create massive fires in which 1/3 of the trees in the area of battle are burned up, and all the grass in the area is burned up. This is not the entire earth. It is limited to the battlefield area. Revelations 8:8 and 9. And the second angel sounded, and as it were a great mountain burning with fire was cast into the sea. And the third part of the sea became blood, and the third part of the creatures which were in the sea and had life died, and the third part of the ships were destroyed. This is a description of a great naval battle in which 1/3 of all ships are destroyed. How can 1/3 of all sea creatures die from a naval battle? The destruction of the ships and their crew cannot account for the death of 1/3 of the marine life. Something else has had to occur. What would cause marine life to suddenly die? Something else had to occur than just the battle. What would cause marine life to suddenly die? Something had to poison the water. There's one thing that has happened recently that has killed marine life, and you can see the fish and other creatures wash up on the shore. It's an oil spill. A massive amount of crude oil spilled into the sea would kill off life in that area where it's located. But there's another possibility. A nuclear power plant close to the ocean that has been breached could also poison the oceans with nuclear waste, which is what I personally believe will happen. Revelation 8:10 and 11. And the third angel sounded, and there fell a great star from heaven, burning as it were a lamp, and it fell upon a third part of the rivers, and upon the fountain of waters. And the name of the star is called Wormwood. And a third part of the waters became wormwood, and many men died of the waters because they were made bitter. Okay, much of the fresh water supply is going to be poisoned. There are two scenarios that can account for this disaster. The first scenario is a contamination of freshwater sources from missile-carrying biological or chemical warheads. This would cause death on a massive scale of all who drank of the water. The second scenario is just as bad as the first, if not worse. A strategic nuclear strike would accomplish the same thing. It's interesting to note that the word wormwood, translated in Russian, is Chernobyl. Chernobyl is the name of a nuclear power plant in Russia, which leaked at one time and caused a lot of sickness and death. The radioactive material got in the water system, and people are still feeling the effects today. And there is a plant common to the Middle East that is called wormwood. This plant is non-poisonous, but it's very bitter. I believe a chemical or biological weapon will be used to contaminate the water systems by some terrorist. Either way, it's not a good thing. Fresh water is going to be hard to come by. See, this is all at the beginning of the Magog battle, which is about to occur. Revelations 8:12. And the fourth angel sounded, and the third part of the sun was smitten, and the third part of the moon, and the third part of the stars, so as the third part of them was darkened, and the day shone not for a third part of it, and the night likewise. Okay, the area where the major battle occurs covers 1/3 of the earth and is thrown into total darkness. The darkness is caused by the multitude of fires started by thousands of missiles hitting the earth. Smoke from the destruction will blot out any light for a time. This is bad, but the worst is yet to come. Revelations 9:1. And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven into the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. This is the first of 3 woes of the trumpet judgments. This star is not a meteor. It is an angel that has been given the key to the bottomless pit to release the worst of the worst that was in heaven during the fall of Lucifer. They were imprisoned for just this point in time. Revelation 9:2. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. This angel had just released mankind's worst nightmare. These fallen heavenly beings are let loose to bring death and destruction upon the earth. But they do have restrictions. You must understand that there is a lot going on in the spiritual realm that we cannot see with our natural eyes. Man may be performing the destruction, but there are angels and spirits behind those men causing them to act the way they are. Revelation 9:3. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power. Yeah, remember, we can't see angels or spirits with our natural eyes unless they manifest themselves to us. John is seeing some kind of creature that resembles a locust. They fly out of the smoke. These locusts are compared to a scorpion. The power of the scorpion is in their sting. Normally one does not die from their sting, but the poison released into a person's system causes excruciating pain and can make one deathly sick. At times one may wish that they could go ahead and die because the pain is so unbearable. Revelation 9:4. And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads. Whatever weapon is used here has no effect on plant life. The 144,000 saints of God are immune to this weapon, but the rest of mankind's fair game. Revelation 9:5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of scorpions when he striketh a man. This war is not going to be a short war. This phase of the war is 5 months. The weapon used does not kill the people, but it causes great pain as the sting of a scorpion. There's a nerve gas in our arsenal that does just that. It neutralizes the enemy without killing them. Yes, we have that right now in our arsenal. The world community frowns upon this kind of weapon. I wonder why. Revelation 9:6. And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Those who are affected by this weapon will wish they could die, but they can't. What are these locusts that John can see with his natural eyes? They have to be something in existence today. They are not spiritual because they can be seen. Revelation 9, 7 through 10. And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared for battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men. And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as teeth of lions. And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron. And the sound of their wings was the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle. And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt for 5 months. John's trying to describe what he's seeing here. What is in existence today that has a long, full body of a horse with a protective layer of iron, where you can see the faces of men, and that has a tail similar to a scorpion's and sounds like a herd of horses running as it flies through the air? The answer I come up with is helicopters. This weapon that torments man for 5 months is delivered by way of the helicopters. Revelation 9:12. One woe is past, and behold, there comes 2 woes more hereafter. Okay, there are 2 more woes coming. Revelation 9:13 through 15. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar which is before God, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, Loose the 4 angels which are bound the river Euphrates. And the 4 angels were loosed, which were prepared for an hour, and a day, and a month, and a year, for to slay the 3rd part of men. Okay, an hour, a day, a month, and a year. This portion of the battle is to last for 13 months. 4 angels are loosed in the area of the Euphrates River to basically be in charge of the destruction of 1/3 of the men fighting in that area. This is basically the fall of Iraq. This ain't going to exist. Revelation 9:16. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. Notice the number of the army involved. 200,000 is 200 million man army. There's 2 scenarios about this number. This could be the combined number of all the armed forces that come together to fight. The other scenario is it is the number of the soldiers of one nation's army that marches to the Euphrates River. If this is the fact, the only nation with that large of an army would be the nation of China. China could march across Asia to the Euphrates with little trouble. Remember that this is the continuing battle that began after the 144,000 were sealed. There have been 5 months of torment and now 13 months of bloody battle. This is not Armageddon. This is not at the end. This is still during the Magog battle. This is the war that ushers in the 7-year tribulation, the rule of evil on earth. There's still another war after the end of this war, led by the beast. This war is also before Armageddon. The trumpet war ushers in the beast and will last at least 18 months, or 1.5 years, which will allow the beast to rise to power and to take control at mid-tribulation point, when he proclaims himself as God in the holy place. Revelation 9:17 through 19. And thus I saw a horse in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and jacinth, and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire, and smoke, and brimstone. But these three was the third part of men killed by the fire and by the smoke and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. For their power is in their mouth and in their tails. For their tails were like unto serpents, and had heads, and with them they do hurt. Now John is trying to describe what he is seeing. What John perceives here as a tail is long and slender as a snake. Fire and smoke comes from this tail, as well as the mouth. What he's describing here is a tank. At the end of the long barrel, the serpent of a tank is a protrusion that would look like a head. Fire and smoke comes from the tail, the serpent and the head. It's describing tanks. Revelation 9:20-21. And the rest of the men which were not killed by these plagues, yet repented not of the works of their hands, that they should not worship devils and idols of gold and silver and brass and stone and of wood, which neither can see nor hear nor walk. Neither repented they of their murders, nor of their sorceries, nor of their fornication, nor of their thefts. God doesn't change. He still hates those that worship false gods. This is the main reason for the destruction that is upon mankind. After all the death and destruction that the world has endured, the people still refuse to repent. Okay, the entire chapter 10 in Revelation is devoted to the little book and the voices of the four thunders, which John was not allowed to write down what they said. Chapter 11 begins with the two witnesses that prophesy for 3½ years before they are killed and left in the street for 3½ days before they rise from the dead and ascend into heaven. Their ministry begins just before the full-scale war breaks out between the Muslim militants and the two houses of Israel. There will be many conflicts leading up to the war between these two factions. While this battle rages, the beast is preparing to take his place in history. He rises to power approximately 2 years into the tribulation, but does not assume power until he declares himself God in the holy place. This is at mid-tribulation, after the seventh trumpet sounds and the rapture occurs. He rules during the last half of the tribulation. Revelation 11:14. The second woe is past, and behold, the third war cometh. Woe cometh quickly. Remember the three woes. The second woe was the death of the two witnesses and their ascension at the mid-tribulation point. The third woe comes immediately after the two witnesses ascend. The third woe is the rule of the beast. This is when 666 will become law on a global basis. This is at mid-tribulation point. Revelation 11:15 and 18. And the seventh angel sounded, and the nations were angry, and thy wrath is come, and the time of the dead, that they should be judged, and that thou shouldest give reward unto thy servants the prophets, and to the saints, and them that fear thy name, small and great, and shouldest destroy them which destroyeth the earth. The seventh trumpet sounds after the two witnesses ascend. And this verse says that those who are gods, that are dead, receives their reward at this point in time. This is the rapture, mid-trib. There are two things that happen when the seventh trumpet sounds. The rapture occurs, and the third woe begins, which is the rule of the beast. The nation of Russia plays a major role in the events that occur in the last day prophecies. The Russian people are descendants of the Scythians. The Scythian people of ancient times spoke with an Iranian dialect. This makes the Russian people cousins to the Iranians. The Scythians were Indo-European people who migrated from Central Asia into southern Russia between 800 and 600 BC. Another name used for these people was the Ashkenaz people. Ashkenaz was a son of Gomer. You can see that in Genesis 10:3. Ashkenaz settled around the Caucasus Mountains to the border of Turkey. Scythian power was dominant in the area northwest of the Black Sea until about 350 BC. Russia is known in the book of Ezekiel as Magog. They are part of the coalition of nations that come against the nations of Israel in the last days. Ezekiel 38, 2 and 3 and 5 and 6. Son of man, set thy face against Gog, the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, and prophesy against him, and say, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, I am against thee, O Gog, the chief prince of Meshach and Tubal, Persia, Ethiopia, and Libya with them, all of them with the shield and helmet, Gomer and all the bands, the house of Togarmah of the north quarters, and all the bands, and many people with thee. So this coalition of forces consists of Magog, Meshach, Tubal, Persia, Ethiopia, Libya, Gomer, and Togarmah. Who are these nations in present day? Okay, Magog is the present day Russia. Meshach was an Armenian tribe that settled in present day Georgia, a satellite nation of Russia. So you got Russia and Georgia. Tubal is Old Cilicia, who in 38 BC was forced to join with Syria under Roman rule as Syria and Cilicia. Syria and Cilicia joined and became as one nation in 72 AD and became known as just Syria. So you got Russia, Georgia, and Syria. Ethiopia of those days is actually the present day nation of Sudan. Okay, we got Russia, Georgia, Syria, and Sudan now. And Persia is present day Iran. Libya is present day Libya. That country didn't change name. Togarmah is present day Armenia. And Gomer is ancient Cappadocia, which in the present day region of central Turkey. So the present day coalition of nations that is to go against the nations of Israel, mentioned in Ezekiel, is Russia, Iran, Georgia, Armenia, Sudan, Libya, Syria, and Turkey. All of these nations are predominantly Muslim nations. And all these nations do not like and are against the present day nation of Israel and the United States, which we are, of the tribe of Manasseh. The coalition does exist today as predicted in Ezekiel. This axis of evil nations will soon come against the mountains or nations of Israel. What do you think? Okay, that's it for this one here. I'm going to start on the Rise of the Beast next. I'm going to need to cut that 3 parts. There's a lot there about that. So you all have a blessed day. I want to get all these things done and get them uploaded. It takes a while to get them uploaded. So God bless y'all.